COVID was a disaster, a calamity that befell us. But it was also an opportunity because a lot of money was pumped into this country because of COVID. As the Auditor General said, we received almost 22 billion CDs, free money. Well, IMF gave us $1 billion facility. They gave us another $1 billion special drawing rights. World Bank gave us almost $950 million, almost $1 billion. Bank of Ghana gave 10 billion CDs. They took from the stabilization fund almost $200 million. And so a lot of money came in, even though there was adversity. And we should have used that money to stabilize the economy. But because it was an election year, we just started awarding contracts to favorites and sharing the money any way we wanted. The point is, every economy must have buffers. And it takes a visionary leader to create those buffers. That stabilization fund, I put the money in the stabilization fund. Otherwise, when COVID hit, we had no money from anywhere. I established the sinking fund. And anytime I went to the Eurobond, I took some of the money and left it in the sinking fund because I knew that we'll have to pay debts that were coming up. They came, they took the money, they paid the balance of the Kufuor Eurobond, paid other debts, and after that, they did not replenish the sinking fund. So as debts were coming due, they were just going and borrowing and paying the debts. And so the debt was accumulating. And normally, you're only servicing the interest. You're not paying the principal. We built the port so that we'll have the most competitive port in West Africa. And that was because volumes had grown so much that the old Tema port could no longer handle. The only efficient berth we had was the MPS berth. For those of you who remember, it could take only 2 ships. And so anytime I flew out of Accra, I saw a queue of ships waiting to enter Tema Port. And so I called Gapoa director. I said, but why do you always have this queue of ships? He said, so we don't have the capacity to handle all of them. So some of them have to come and wait with cargo for about a week or more before they get the chance to come in. And that's when I challenged them to build us a new port because Gapoa and MPS were partners already. So I said, government of Ghana doesn't have the money. You use your own balance sheet and look for the money and build us a port in which you are partners. Today, that port is operating. We have more capacity than it can even handle. And that is why we are sad that volumes are escaping. We must make sure that as much volume comes through that port as possible. Because even the phase 2, if they finish the phase 2, we can handle cargo for almost 5 countries in this sub-region because we have the capacity to be able to do that. Today, that port is earning Gapoha a lot of money. Since that port was built, Gapoha's dividends has been more than $200 million from the new port. And yet people say, I sold the port. Meanwhile, now, the dividend Gapoha is making of that almost $200 and something million Gapoha has taken, that is what you've taken $70 million out of to go and do Buankra Port.